Before I start with step 7, I need to go back to step 4. I was supposed to delete this information here, so I'm going to select it. I'm going to delete it by right-clicking and choosing Clear Contents. That's one easy way to delete some information, a group of information. Step 7 in F3. We're going to enter percent of total. I do want to point out that when I click in these cells here, you'll notice that they are formatted as percentages. Usually the default is general. If I click on any other cell, it says general. So once we put our function or formula in here, the numbers will be formatted as percentages, and that's why they will look like they do. So the title for this column is percent of total. And I need my total figure in here, which I did not copy over. So I'm just going to come over here. It doesn't matter. Everything is going to total up the same. But I'm going to click in this cell, get my copy fill cursor, and drag it over one more time so that I have my total in there. I'm going to click in F4, and all our formulas start with an equal sign, and we want to divide this number by this number. And we're going to copy this formula down, so we're going to want to divide all the totals for each town by this total number down here. So we need to use absolute cell reference here so that when we copy it down, it will always go back to E8. I'm going to push my F4 key, which is a shortcut key, to add the dollar signs. If you're using a laptop, your F4 key might have a different job, so you'll want to hold down your FN key. You should see an FN key at the bottom left, usually, of your keyboard, and that will make your F4 key act like a function 4 key in Excel. I'm going to click on the check mark and then get my copy fill cursor and copy this down. So just to show you, if we do the same thing over here, we notice that these cells are formatted as numbers. So if I do the same formula, equals, and I click here, divided by my total down here, with my F4 and click on my check mark, it says 0. I'm going to increase my decimal places so you can see that what the difference is by formatting your cells as percentages first. You can also always do it after the fact. If we wanted to, we can click on the percentage sign and we would get the same results. The other thing, too, I would like you to notice is using the absolute cell reference. Excel defaults to relative cell reference, meaning that I'm going to delete this and do it again, put this back to, we'll keep it as percentage, and actually we'll copy that formatting down. So if I do equals and I divide my New York total by the grand total, and I don't use absolute cell reference, and I copy this down, you see that you get error messages. So that's because if I double click in this cell here, you can see that it divided it by E9. And if I double click in this cell, E10. That's called relative cell reference, and that's what Excel does by default. It's always going to move down a cell or move over a cell depending in the direction that you're dragging. So in order for it not to do that, we add our dollar signs to make that cell use absolute cell reference. Again, using the absolute cell reference, we'll always make sure that it goes back to E8.